Am I still sharing my screen?
Yes. Well, it's just me and you in the gallery.
Can you see that?
I don't see a bomb or anything. It's just me and
Okay.
you.
Sorry.
There's no countdown. Hi, everybody. We'll start the show in a couple minutes.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Fourth and Goal broadcast. I'm going to be here for Tupperware. I got to take care of something at some point. So if I got to go, David's going to carry on with the show. So we're basically going to go off of David's full lead tonight because I don't know how long I'm going to be able to be on with you guys tonight. So anyways, welcome to the show. Let's get it started. How you doing tonight, David?
All right, ready to talk some football. What an interesting weekend this last week has been in week 6 in the NFL. We got a lot of news, which I'm sure we'll talk about as we recap. Some things that don't involve the games. The NFL owners voted to not allow the hiring process to begin until after the divisional round of the playoffs. I, for one, am a person that thinks that they shouldn't allow any type of hiring situations for interviews and such until after teams have been eliminated. But, they want to get the process going faster. They think it gives them some kind of advantage. And otherwise, I think they'd have voted to wait until after the Super Bowl. But that passed, here recently. The owners voted on that. And so as we look at week number 6, there were several injuries to some big names. And like I said, we'll talk about it as we go through. But the main thing that I want to start with is I see a lot of chatter on, the chat lines and on, Facebook and other places. And I want to make sure that everybody's getting the right information. Okay. I want to congratulate, because I know we've got a lot of Detroit Lion fans that are, part of the audience of the broadcast, but there's a misconception on the way the standings work. And so I want to make sure that everybody understands how they work. Right now, there are 5 teams that are tied for the best record in the NFL at 5-1. In the AFC, there's the Kansas City Chiefs and the Miami Dolphins. In the NFC, there's the Detroit Lions, the Philadelphia Eagles, and the San Francisco 49ers. Now, the Detroit Lions are tied for the best record, but if the playoffs began today, okay, they would win their division, but they would be the 3 seed in the NFC. And the reason why that is because while the other 2 have the same record, they lost to AFC conference teams, whereas Detroit lost to an NFC team in the Seattle Seahawks. As it stands right now, Philadelphia and San Francisco are tied, but it would come down to tiebreakers on, what their division record is, what their, number of points that they have scored or allowed that would determine who the number 1 seed is in the NFC. In the AFC, Kansas City lost to Detroit, whereas Miami lost to Buffalo. So Kansas City is the clear number 1 seed right now in the AFC conference. So just a quick breakdown on how the playoff seedings work. Wanted to make sure people knew that, because there's a lot of people like, we've got the best record in the NFL. We got the number 1 seed. And while you are tied for the number 1 record, you do not have the number 1 seed at this time.
I'm going to defend.
Schedule is panning out where you have got, teams ahead of you that you should beat, and should have no problem. You have the inside track right now, Detroit does, for that number 1 seed in the NFC.
See, I'm just going to defend Lions fans because, and not saying that we're actually saying we're number 1. See, a lot of outside fan bases are taking it that way, but I'm an honest Lions fan. The Lions have never been tied for first place overall in my lifetime. This is the first time I've seen this team in this position. A lot of Lions fans, this is the first time they've seen this team in that position. So I think it's just getting carried over. Everybody seeing a Lion fan post about it, and they're just assuming they're saying they're number 1. They're just talking in general. We're tied for the number 1 overall in the NFL, which is pretty sweet because we've never been in this situation before. So
I was impressed as a outsider. We've seen, Steelers fans travel well. We've seen the Cowboys fans travel well. Packers fans travel well to these other venues, but the Detroit Lion fans have come out in force. Man, they were loaded down there in Tampa Bay this last weekend. And I gotta tip my hat to them. They are really, putting a lot into this season. There was so much hype before the year. I was worried there was going to be a bit of a letdown, from years and years. That's just the way you have, the mentality when it comes to Detroit. But man, you guys are on top of the world right now. You got all your fans are showing up to the other venues. You're tied for the best record in the NFL through 6 weeks. I got to give it up to the Detroit Lions right now. They are, making a lot of people believers out there.
Exactly. It's going to get even crazier if we win this week in Baltimore. If we beat Baltimore, I expected this hype train to get even more crazy.
Well, I mean, we're going to talk about each particular game, here shortly when it comes to, who they're going to be playing this next week, at Baltimore Ravens. I've talked about it. We've talked about it. I just think that Baltimore is a fraud, and anybody that's going to take something, I expect the same thing to happen to Baltimore that Detroit did to Tampa Bay this last week. They're going to shut them down offensively. They're going to, take care of business. The problem that you're going to have, and I haven't looked, I was in the process of looking, your top two running backs are down right now.
Well,
when I said that Jahmyr Gibbs was not going to play this last weekend,
you're right.
When we talked about it, and you got all huffy, about it. Now, David Montgomery is out definitely for the next two games because he's got rib injury. Gibbs, we don't know if he's going to be able to be back in time for this game. Who's the next guy up? Is it Reynolds or?
It'll be Craig Reynolds. We just signed the Michigan State not Michigan State, but the Minnesota running back that went undrafted. We signed this spring.
Ibrahim, he was on your practice squad.
He just came back. He's healed from his injury because we cut him because he got injured, and then we just re-signed him today. But Gibbs is there is positive things about Gibbs that he's leaning towards actually playing, and that's
what was his injury?
A hamstring. He tugged his hamstring, and when I wasn't really trying to be huffy and puffy about that either. It's just I heard Dan Campbell on the radio, and he said straight out of his mouth that St. Brown and Gibbs were really close playing the week before. So I thought there was just no way that Gibbs set out last week since we were playing Tampa. But I guess they thought as a coaching staff that we could handle that game without him, and they gave him another game off. So I do expect him to be out there this Sunday.
That's good because they're going to need him against that team. While I expect that they can shut the run down a little bit because that's what Baltimore is, okay, they can shut them down. I think they've got a weak secondary in Baltimore, and I think that Detroit's going to have a field day. And we'll get to that game here shortly when we do our preview. Let's take a look at the recap here.
Excellent. Hey, let's be real quick before we got that. I just want to bring up a couple points. I didn't know if you guys seen that Julius Jones is back. He signed a contract with the Eagles today. Also, here's one topic. I just wanted to bring it up before my day got all messed up. There's one topic I really want to bring up. I read an article that crazy ass Aaron Rodgers, I don't know what drugs he's on now. He is, I guess, supposedly pushing his doctors to allow him to possibly come back before the playoffs. And he's supposedly really going to try to do this. I don't think it's a good idea. I think if the Jets are smart, they should shut this down. But hey, what do you think? Is there any way that Aaron Rodgers makes it out by week 15, week 16?
You're obsessed with Aaron Rodgers because he's been your nemesis for so long.
I'm not obsessed. I'm just really blown away about the whole article.
I'm not worried about it. Okay. I think that Aaron Rodgers, as we have talked about so many times, is a camera hog. He wants the attention. He needs to be talked to on Pat McAfee and all these other places. He loves New York. All this attention that he got, he was, God's gift to the Jets and everything. And then he goes down and gets hurt. Well, what's the best way to draw the most attention? I'm going to stand on the sideline and throw the football. There's a lot of difference between standing on the sideline and throwing the ball around and actually being mobile with that bad offensive line, okay? Zach Wilson, in the last few games that they have started to come on, he's rolling out of the pocket, bootlegs, getting away from the offensive line to give himself time to make plays, short, quick passes, handing the ball off to his, to the best players on that team are the running backs, okay? And so they're not going to be able to do that with Aaron Rodgers. I don't care, how much time they think, the special drugs and the special surgery and everything, I'm telling you, he's not coming back this year, especially not before playoff time. Okay. He can push him all he wants, because if he re-injures it, then you didn't lose him for just one season. You'll lose him for next season also. And it will depend on how the team as a whole performs going forward. Yes, they beat the Eagles, but the Eagles have struggled at times early in the season here. Okay. And so for me, who are they going to be playing? Who are they coming up against? They're going into a bye right now, which I'm sure they desperately need for injuries to their offensive line. Some of their best defensive players were not out there. Sauce Gardner and others, need the time to recuperate and come back strong. And so, the byes hit them probably at a pretty good time. They played a really rough schedule early on. And, it's just going to continue to be a bear of a schedule moving forward. And, but Wilson's playing better. The running game is really doing well. Of course, the defense has played great all year, but they need to work on that offensive line, if they're going to have any shot. They're only 3-3, going into the bye. So they're out of the playoff picture as it stands right now. And so, they're going to have to, get some luck from other teams, falling by the wayside, and they're going to have to win some big games down the stretch, because if they're not even going to make the playoffs, there's no way he's going to play at the end of the year.
Yeah, I just wanted to see what you thought about it, because I don't care if he comes back or not. To be 100% honest, don't bother me. I'm just really interested if they would allow him, or if he could convince somebody to allow him.
So let's start off with our week number 6 recap. Thursday night football, Kansas City Chiefs and the Denver Broncos. And, Kansas City took care of business. They didn't play great offensively, but the defense, again, plays really good. They only allow 8 points to Denver. Denver has never beaten the Kansas City Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes as the quarterback. The last time they won against Kansas City, Peyton Manning was the quarterback, of the Denver Broncos. And so, they've got a little mini bye here going into this upcoming week. Kansas City and Denver both do. And so gives them a little bit more time. Travis Kelce played in the game, even though there was concerns that he was going to be, limited due to ankle injury. I thought it was a pretty good game overall. While they didn't score in the red zone, Kansas City, they held serve. Their defense basically won the game for them. And that's going to be dangerous going forward if Kansas City gets their offense on track.
Yep. Kansas City's a team. It seems like they've struggled at times, but I know it's just the new wideouts they got over there and being young. But it was a lot closer game, I thought. But you got the W. That's all that matters at the end of the day.
Early game in England, the Baltimore Ravens took care of business against Tennessee. I basically missed the majority of this game because it was too damn early in the morning, and it was a couple teams that I don't really care for. But, Baltimore dominated the majority of the game. Derrick Henry did have a couple of big runs, but Ryan Tannehill got hurt in the game for Tennessee. And so they had to turn to Malik Willis. And, while his mobility helped a little bit, really Baltimore had the game sewed up the second Tannehill went out.
Yep. I kind of figured. figured
Yeah,
that
go
was
ahead.
going to go that way. I kind of figured that game was going to go that way than Tennessee actually, but Tennessee's shocked me a couple times this year. So I want to give it up to Carolina in this game though. They put 21 points. At one point, it looked like one of their best games all season, but I missed it. So
Yeah, Carolina led this game 14-0, and then Miami got their head on straight and took over. They were missing Devin Achane, and so Raheem Mostert got the majority of the running game. And of course, Tyreek Hill is having an MVP season at the wide receiver spot. Tua Tagovailoa right now is the odds-on favorite, according to Vegas, to win the MVP because he's got so many weapons around him. Carolina really was no match for Miami. I was really stunned that they led the game 14-0 early. Moving on to the next game when it comes to the New Orleans Saints and the Houston Texans. Houston is once again showing that they are a team to be reckoned with. They're playing really well. Hey, buddy.
Hi.
There's my
hello,
son.
what's up, buddy?
We go eat dinner.
Gotta go eat dinner. Okay, see ya. Shut the door. Anyway, we talked about, I thought New Orleans was going to be better than they are, because Derek Carr was coming in there. But I think there's a disconnect between the quarterback and the play caller. Carmichael is in his second year actually calling plays as the offensive coordinator. Before that, it was Sean Payton when they had Drew Brees. And, for me, I just think that Houston is on the right track. Their defense played well against New Orleans. The Saints had opportunities in this game, and they just couldn't capitalize because of Houston's defense. Now, the Saints did force C.J. Stroud to throw his first interception of the year. And so we did know that the Saints defense was good, but, not good enough to stop them all day long. Good plays by their receivers and their tight end there in Houston. Dalton Schultz scores again. And so, looking forward, I could see that Houston, they're in position to make the playoffs if they continue to play the way they are.
Yeah, I talked a lot about this game last week in the preview, and I said it. Houston got the dub.
Washington versus Atlanta. And Washington really had control of this game for the majority of the game. Atlanta started to make their comeback. It looked like it could be a Green Bay Packers situation here where they have the big comeback, with Atlanta. But, Washington's defense managed to hold serve at the end of the game. And, Washington is starting to get their running game going. They've got two running backs that are pretty good in Brian Robinson Jr. and Antonio Gibson, but they've just been throwing it all over the yard lately. And I think the lack of a running game is what cost them against Washington. But by running the ball a little bit more effectively here against Atlanta, they were able to run the clock down and win the game.
Yep. I'm glad you've seen a lot of these games because I'm completely lost. This is why you don't get influenced by your 70-year-old grandfather to go out and then he keeps you out to 7 a.m. Just saying. Don't ever trust them old guys.
Well, a little news here about the Indianapolis Colts. Jim Irsay, the owner of the team, said that Anthony Richardson was going to have surgery on his AC joint and his shoulder and is probably going to miss the rest of the year. And that means it's all up to Gardner Minshew now. Now, they did get Jonathan Taylor back, and he was effective at some points of the game. Between him and Zach Moss, I think they're going to have a really good running game throughout the rest of this year. But Jacksonville played well. Their defense played well. The overall offense here looked really good, I thought. And but Trevor Lawrence got hurt late in this game. He hurt his knee, and that could affect his availability for the Thursday night game. Jacksonville's playing the Saints on Thursday night.
ESPN just updated me not long ago about him, and they said he's I guess he said in an interview he's believing he can play Thursday, so it looks like he might be able to play Thursday. But if you got him in fantasy, better keep an eye on him because you just never know.
I watched the whole game between the Seahawks and the Bengals, and the Seahawks had their opportunities. If they would have kicked field goals instead of going for the touchdown every time, I think Seattle wins this game. But because it was on the road, they felt the need to go for it on 4th and 1 and 4th and goal down, at the goal line area against Cincinnati. Cincinnati's defense, was porous at times and allowed Seattle to get down there, but they just made the play when they had to on the 4th down calls. And so, Cincinnati played a lot better. I think they're getting healthier. Joe Burrow did not look limited in this game. Seattle's defense played well and held Jamar Chase down for a lot of this game. But, once again, I think it was just coaching decisions by Seattle cost them this game because they went for it on 4th and goal and they went for it on 4th and 1, and they couldn't convert down inside the 5-yard line twice against the Bengals defense.
Yeah. Surprised. I thought they're one of the picks that got me this week because I had Seattle winning that game.
Minnesota Vikings come out with the victory against the Chicago Bears. And I think mainly the reason that Minnesota won this game is Justin Fields got hurt during the game. He hurt his throwing hand, against Minnesota. He had to leave the game. X-rays were negative, but Minnesota capitalized on his absence against the backup who has zero experience. And, Minnesota was able to pull it out in Chicago. Basically a battle for last place in the division. This is the second consecutive victory, the second victory in the last 2 weeks for Minnesota. So they're starting to come on a little bit, but they're the only team in the NFL that does not have a rushing touchdown through 6 weeks of the NFL season. Like I've said before, I'm not plussed about Alexander Madison. They brought in Cam Akers, and he's been effective in spot duty. But if it was up to me, he'd be the starter. But they need to run the football more. The loss of Justin Jefferson, who's been put on IR, was not exactly super noticeable. Jordan Addison took over and played a fine game. KJ Osborne moved into Addison's spot. And so both receivers played well in the absence of Jefferson. I thought that Cousins was forced to spread the ball around more rather than concentrate on Jefferson the whole time. And I think that could be a positive for them moving forward.
Yeah. We'll see how they do next week.
The first of two stunners of the day, San Francisco goes down to Cleveland, and their third-string quarterback, P.J. Walker, the former player who was with the XFL, the Houston Roughnecks, a couple years back before the pandemic shut him down. P.J. Walker can play quarterback. He's a mobile player. They ran the football, but it was on the strength of their defense. I thought that the weather was a disservice to San Francisco. Whenever they face rainy weather, they lost last year, the first game of the season, because of a monsoon against lowly Chicago. This one here, it wasn't a monsoon by any stretch, but They had two of their top players get injured during the game, and it looks like they'll both be out for the foreseeable future. Christian McCaffrey hurt his rib and has an abdominal or oblique injury. And then Deebo Samuel also, hamstring and knee issues. And so, one of the top teams in the NFC looked wounded and did not play well. But, Brock Purdy let him down to give him a chance to kick a field goal, and the rookie kicker missed for the second time in the game. He missed 2 field goals. Either one of them would have won the game, in this instance, in a low-scoring affair. 19-17, Cleveland wins.
Yep. Do you know the backstory? Because I was reading an article today when Cleveland came out the tunnel of the game, they had the boom box, and they were and I guess stuff got really chippy, and it became a personal game, but I'm not sure why it took that route.
I don't have any information other than it was chippy early on, and that a couple of veterans were running their mouths at each other, and that started the whole issue before the game. It made it personal for Cleveland. Cleveland's playing at home. San Francisco comes in there, acts like they're going to bully them. And early on, it looked like that was the case because San Francisco took the ball and went right down the field and scored an opening drive touchdown. But after that, it was a slow go for no mo the rest of the day.
Yeah.
In the Patriots versus the Raiders, the Belichick Bowl, former New England Patriot offensive coordinator Josh McDaniels with former New England Patriot Jimmy Garoppolo under center at quarterback managed to get the victory against the New England Patriots in Las Vegas. Garoppolo got hurt in this game, a back injury. We don't have a lot of information, but there's conflicting reports that he could be out for several weeks, in which case Aiden O'Connell, the backup, will be the starter going forward for the Raiders. Mac Jones and the Patriots looked a lot better against the Raiders than they have over the last couple of weeks after a couple of 30-point blowouts, against Dallas and I forget who the other team was that they played. But, they really got rocked, the last couple of weeks. And so, they looked better, especially offensively. Defensively, they were still, doing the best they can. They only gave up 21 points to the Raiders. I still feel bad for the Patriots. I don't think that they are going to win, even 7 games this year. And there's a lot of talk that this could be Belichick's last season. There's a lot of, will he allow a general manager to come in? Because Mac Jones just doesn't have any weapons. They signed Juju Smith-Schuster, but he can't get open. They had Devontae Parker, but the offensive line doesn't block long enough for the long passes that they try to throw to him down the field. They have a lot of B players and no A-plus players offensively for this team. And they're playing in a really tough division. And so, as far as the Raiders go, they started the season bad, but have managed to get to 3-3. And so, looking forward, I don't know that they will be a playoff team. They're on the outside looking in right now. And with Aiden O'Connell having to take over for Jimmy Garoppolo for who knows how long, it doesn't look good for the Raiders going forward.
I have to agree with you there.
Here's where we get to your game, Detroit versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I actually picked Tampa because I thought they were going to be sneaky good. I thought that their defense would slow down Detroit, but obviously not the case. It felt like a home game for Detroit with so many fans there. The defense has really shown they are super improved from last year when it comes to Detroit.
Yeah, that defense played lights out. Baker didn't have much time. And the times he did have someone get open, he was rushed when he threw the ball, and he overthrew like 3 to 4 different times a receiver that could have broke away for a touchdown. But because that pass rush was right there and rushed him to throw that ball, he wasn't able to get the right spot for that ball to drop and misses targets, and that defense kept him in check all day. It was a hell of a game.
Your boy Jamison Williams caught his first NFL touchdown.
What a beauty.
45-yard bomb.
I want to give that kid some props, because not only but if you watch that play really close and slow motion, you could see him lose the ball, look left, look back right, and then notice the ball and completely turn around at the last minute to snag that ball. And to me, that was pretty impressive. I expect him to actually have a bigger game this week. Something's telling me after catching that touchdown, that's going to get him and Goff are going to get that chemistry down pat.
Rams against the Cardinals, and as expected, with the return of Cooper Kupp, him paired with Puka Kanua, they are a dynamic tandem. Now, they did lose their starting running back, Tyrion Williams, during the game. And because of that, a lot of the former Ram running backs have been signed to the 53-man roster, to the practice squad. They brought back Darrell Henderson. They got Royce Freeman. Have all, joined the team because, they're going to need a running game going forward. They got a good passing game right now, and the defense has played well against some of the middling teams that they have played against. So going forward, the Rams are still in the thick of this division, especially now that the 49ers got their first loss. But, the Rams look like they could be a playoff team if they continue to improve, but they got to get their running game going again now with some other players coming in to replace their starter.
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts throws an interception at the end of the game when the Eagles had a chance to go down and, just go ahead and run the clock out and put it away. The Jets come in and do what they have to do defensively. They played well at home. It's the first time that the New York Jets have beaten the Philadelphia Eagles in their history.
Wow.
Shut the door, buddy. Did you get to see any of this game, Chris?
What game was that? My bad.
The Eagles and the Jets.
No, I did not get to see that game. I did pay attention on my phone. At the last couple minutes, I think it was ending like right as I was waking up.
The Eagles had a virtually non-existent running game all day. They did have some nice passes to A.J. Brown, and, their defense played well at times against that bad offensive line of the Jets. But they just allowed the Jets to hang around throughout the game. Tough plays, not coming up with, the kind of plays that they normally had. There was no tush push in this game at all because third downs and fourth downs were quite a few yards. They never gave them an opportunity to do any short yardage plays, to kind of demoralize their defense. And so the Jets, like I said, they just hung around until the end. Zach Wilson played well. Breece Hall and Dalvin Cook ran the ball effectively as a tandem, plus some really nice screen passes to both those guys. Garrett Wilson is still showing why he was Rookie of the Year offensively last year. And, I just think that going into this bye week, the Jets have a real opportunity if they can get that offensive line straightened out and Zach Wilson continues to improve. The Jets can still be a dangerous team even without Aaron Rodgers.
Yep.
And I
Totally
think
agree.
I think the Philadelphia Eagles just had a bad day at the office. So we go to the Battle of New York, which was really a stunner to me. The Giants gave the Buffalo Bills everything that they could handle. The return of Saquon Barkley for the Giants really helped out the Giants offense. And Tyrod Taylor played well, a former Buffalo Bill, as the backup quarterback. He was in there instead of Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones, of course, is injured with that neck injury. And, it felt like the offense was a lot more dynamic with Tyrod Taylor in there. They just played a really tough Buffalo Bill defense. The defense for the Giants played very well against Buffalo. And, there was poor clock management, poor clock management at the end of both the first and second half of the game. Tyrod Taylor checked to a running play at the end of the first half. He could have thrown a couple of times, incomplete into the end zone, but instead they tried to run it in and it was stopped and the time ran out at the end of the first quarter or the first half. They could have kicked a field goal in that situation. And basically they could have kicked a field goal at the end of the game if they had made that field goal earlier on that could have given them the victory. But, just bad clock management, in the game by the quarterback, Tyrod Taylor, who played well overall, basically cost them the game.
That's what sometimes happens when you got a quarterback that's sitting on the bench and hasn't played in a game time. It's very easy to make a mistake in that situation.
Well, I personally think that as a veteran quarterback, he should have known better. And, I just think that, it was just a mistake on his part, and sometimes your mistakes are glaring, and this one definitely was.
For sure.
Monday Night Football, the Dallas Cowboys, coming off a drubbing by the 49ers, come into town to play against the Los Angeles Chargers of San Diego. The Cowboys defense hurried Justin Herbert all night long. They didn't finally get a sack until the very end by Micah Parsons. And, that basically sealed the deal. The running game struggled all night against the Chargers, but Dak Prescott's mobility, he scored the first touchdown of the game on an 18-yard touchdown run. He has not been using his legs, through the first part of this season to make plays. And I think that was something that they emphasized this week. Give him an opportunity. He took off and ran a few times in the game. And, he was basically the leading rusher for the Cowboys because Pollard and Rico Dowdle were having a hard time against that front of the Chargers. I liked that they featured CeeDee Lamb. They made sure he got the ball early and often. And, I thought it helped open up some of the other players, down the field because they had to double cover Lamb later on in the game. But, this is a big win for the Cowboys. They get back in the thick of the NFC East race with the loss by Philadelphia. They go to 4-2. They're only one game back. They got a couple of weeks to get some more things ironed out before they play the Eagles. The Chargers dropped to 2-3 and third place in the AFC West. They're 3 games back of the Kansas City Chiefs, and it's not looking good for head coach Brandon Staley. He has, he's been under the gun the last couple of years already. His defense is supposed to be, what brought him over there because he was the former defensive coordinator of the Rams. They bring in Kellen Moore, the former offensive coordinator for the Cowboys. And, it was a big game for Kellen Moore. I'm sure he really wanted to, stick it to the Cowboys. But the defense just overwhelmed them for the most part. Yes, they put up 17 points, but there was opportunities to get more. And it just feels like in the fourth quarter, the first 3 quarters of the game, Justin Herbert is dynamite, and in the fourth quarter, he just starts to lose it under the pressure of either being rushed or the spotlight might be just too much for him. I'm not really certain.
To me, they got a lot of problems out there, so it could have been a number of things. What caused that to happen, to be honest. And I have to agree. I think their coach is definitely is going to hit the road after this for sure.
Well, there's your breakdown of this last week. Let's take a look at the preview for week 7. Da, 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 da. And we talked about this earlier. We got the Jacksonville Jaguars against the New Orleans Saints on Thursday Night Football. Trevor Lawrence is going to play, but he did injure his knee against the Indianapolis Colts on Sunday. They're going to New Orleans. I think this is a really fun matchup, but I look to see a lot more from the New Orleans Saints in this game. Yes, it's a short turnaround. It's the Saints that put the big numbers up against the New England Patriots. That was the other game that the Patriots really got beat down by. And then they weren't able to put up as many points against Houston. They played in Houston and struggled in that game offensively. And Jacksonville has a pretty good defense. So both these teams have good defenses. It's up to the offense to show what they've got. I like Jacksonville in this game. I'd like to say that New Orleans will be able to hang with them. But unless they have some really good game plan that they've been holding back, I don't see the Saints beating Jacksonville on Thursday night.
I got the Jags as well. I think they're, especially if Lawrence plays, they're starting to catch steam over there and make a run.
We got the Detroit Lions taking on the Baltimore Ravens. And as I said earlier, I think that the Detroit Lions are going to do the same thing to Baltimore that they did to Tampa Bay. They're going to go in there and they're going to, stop their running game for sure, rush the passer. As long as they don't over pursue and allow Lamar Jackson to run down the field through gaping big holes, I think that their secondary is weak. And against this dynamic Detroit Lion offense, I think they're going to throw it all over the yard on them. Detroit should not have very many problems with Baltimore.
I'm sticking with my boys. They're hot. It is Victory Tuesday.
We got the Raiders. We got the Raiders and the Bears, and both teams could have their backup quarterback playing. Aiden O'Connell for the Raiders, and then I forget the name of the Chicago Bears guy, but I liked what I saw from Aiden O'Connell in the preseason. I don't know anything about the Chicago Bear quarterback, Boutnier or something like that. Starts with a B.
All I know is he's an undrafted. He's an undrafted QB signing.
They're hurting at running back. They let David Montgomery go. Herbert is injured. They've got Ebner and they've got Rashawn Johnson, but Rashawn Johnson's hurt too. And so, they're hurting at running back. They're hurting at quarterback. Let's be honest. Chicago right now is probably the worst team in the NFL because of the injuries that have been sustained. I'm going to have to take the Raiders in this game.
Same here, Raiders.
Well, we got the 3-2 Cleveland Browns. We won't know until probably game time whether Deshaun Watson's going to play. We do know it'll be Gardner Minshew for the Indianapolis Colts. I look at this. The Colts are playing at home. The Colts have a decent defense. And if Minshew knows he's starting the whole game, which he knew last week, but this isn't a divisional, game. So these two teams don't know each other as well as Jacksonville and Indianapolis do. So the Colts may have something for the Browns that they haven't seen before. We know the Browns defense is number one in the NFL right now. They're going to have to go on the road. If Deshaun Watson plays in the game, it's an easy choice for me to take the Browns. With PJ Walker in there right now, I don't know. This one is kind of up in the air for me. What do you think, Chris?
I'm going to roll with the Browns, either with Watson or PJ Walker. Because I think PJ Walker is hyped up. I think he'll be ready. I think he's going to be ready if he has to start again. He's coming off the win against the 49ers. For a player of that caliber, that has to give him extra confidence and extra boost if he gets to start another game. I got the Bills easily in this one. I think the Patriots, the defense is good, but I don't trust anything on the offense side of the ball. The Bills should easily win this one unless they play somewhat like they did against the Giants this week with turning the ball over or making stupid plays. That's the only way I can see them lose this game.
I got the Bills also. The Bills know the Patriots so well. And, being a divisional matchup, I just don't see them, holding anything back after they had such a rough time against the Giants. I think they go into Foxborough and they handle them pretty easily, I would think.
Giant.
Yes, sir.
The soap's all over the floor.
Okay, I'll be out there in a minute. Want to say hi again?
Yeah.
We got the Washington Commanders and the New York Giants. What do you think?
Commanders.
What do you think, Ryan?
Yeah, who you running on?
Oh, I'm going to take the you know what? This is a sneaky game, and the reason why is because, Saquon Barkley came back, and it really gave them a boost offensively. This is a divisional matchup, and so you can't guarantee anything against two teams that are, I think, evenly matched despite their records. I think Tyrod Taylor will probably play again, and I think his mobility will help against that front four. I wouldn't be surprised at all if the Giants won this game. The Commanders, they played well from time to time, but it's like, they play well one week and then the next week they lay an egg. They play well a week, they lay an egg.
Bye.
I think this is the week the Giants beat Washington.
Well, time will tell.
We go to the top of this list, and we're looking at the 3-3 Atlanta Falcons against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are 3-2. Of course, the Buccaneers just got beat up by the Detroit Lions. They were coming off of a bye. Atlanta did not look good this last week. Again, despite, Ritter playing, all right. I'm surprised the running game has not been as overwhelmingly good for Atlanta as it has been the last couple of years. They added Bijan Robinson, and you would think having that third running back who is so dynamic, they would just run it down people's throats. Well, they're not going to run it down the Buccaneers' throats. I like Tampa Bay to win the game.
Tampa all day. And what blows my mind is they're paying Peterson that money, and he's back, and he hasn't done shit since he's been back. It makes no sense to me. You would think they would be trying to get Patterson involved in the offense. Would definitely help them running backs out, I would think, if they did, but.
Got the 3-2 Pittsburgh Steelers traveling out west to play against the Los Angeles Rams at 3-3. The Steelers are coming off of a bye, so maybe they've had some opportunity here to, work out some kinks offensively, because the offense has sputtered this year, and it has been up to the defense, really, in order to, to salvage games and help them win. The Rams have a high-flying offense when it comes to the passing game. I don't know what we're going to get out of the running game because all the running backs have been hurt. But that doesn't mean they still won't use play action passing in this game. The Steelers' secondary is a strength. And so I think that this could be a really close game back and forth, but I just trust the Rams offense more than I do the Steelers offense. And so I'm going to take Los Angeles at home.
Oh, wow. I was kind of leaning towards Pittsburgh, but this game is a 50-50 for me because I could see the Rams winning this game as well. So I'm just going to stick in the middle because it's.
I don't have anything to say about the Cardinals Seahawks. I like the Seahawks. I think the Seahawks beat themselves this last week. The Cardinals, they're next to Chicago, they're the worst team in the NFL. Yes, they have played tough against some of these other teams. Yes, they beat the Cowboys, but they just caught them on an off day, in my opinion. I just think that Seattle will learn from their mistakes this last week. They're back playing at home against a divisional opponent. Seattle should win the game easily.
Yeah. Seattle should definitely bounce back against the Cardinals. It's a good, easy game. Hopefully they work out the kinks that caused them to lose last week.
2-3 Green Bay Packers at the 1-5 Denver Broncos. And, these teams here have both been disappointing. I've seen glimpses from both teams. Okay. Russell Wilson is not as bad as he was last year. Jordan Love has shown that he can be the quarterback of the future. He just needs more experience and he needs more help from his teammates to make things happen. The defense plays well in the first half and then collapses in the second half for Green Bay. The Broncos are supposed to have a good defense, but they sure haven't shown it much this year. Now, Denver's coming in here. They've got themselves a few extra days to prepare after playing on Thursday night. The Packers come in after a bye, and so they get a little bit of extra time before they go on the road here to Denver. This is a sneaky game here. I think Denver can win the game. I think it'll be a close game. But if Jordan Love comes out there in the first half and looks as sharp as he did the first couple of weeks of the season, now that he's had a little bit of a break, I think it's a whole new start for Green Bay, and they go on a run here. I'm going to take the Green Bay Packers to win the game.
I'm going with Green Bay too. Even though deep down I'm pulling for the Broncos, I just kind of lost all faith in that.
Well, here's a trap game. Chargers 2-3 always play the Kansas City Chiefs tough. The Chiefs defense is, one of the top ones in the NFL this year. But the offense has sputtered from time to time. I know they're playing at Arrowhead. I'm a Chiefs fan. I want to take the Chiefs. I'm telling you, the Chargers are somehow going to win this game. I just know it.
I'm going to stick with the KC on this one. I think they get it done just because I'm just sticking with KC. I don't have faith in the head coach over there with the Chargers at this point.
Every time the Chiefs play against the Chargers, okay, the Chiefs turn the football over. They have penalties, and the penalties have been hindering them this year already. Okay, I know they're playing at home. I know they're at Arrowhead. I just, I don't want to be a negative Nancy, but I'm telling you, the Chargers got a little bit of a short week here because they played on Monday Night Football. They had the Cowboys beat, and they gave the game away. I just feel like that, the Chargers know the Chiefs so well, and vice versa, that while I think the defense will hold up its end of the bargain for Kansas City, I'm worried about the offense, and I think that penalties and turnovers will somehow doom them. I'm going to take the Chargers to win this game.
So he took the Chargers, I took KC. We'll see who's right at the end of the week.
Sunday night football. What a matchup this is going to be. We got the 5-1 high-flying Miami Dolphins against the defending NFC champion Eagles at 5-1 as well. And this here is, I think, a battle of defense. Okay. I think that the defense that steps up in this game will be the team that wins, because I think both offenses, can put up big numbers. I expect the Eagles offense to run the football more. I think that they will use Jalen Hurts, on some quarterback draws. I think that they'll use some more bunch formations. They'll get the ball to A.J. Brown. Devontae Smith has been silent the last couple of weeks. It's time for him to get back in the game. We'll have to see if Dallas Goedert is going to be able to play in this game. He got injured in the last game. I think he came back in, but, that doesn't mean that something doesn't crop up on him before this next game starts. As far as the Dolphins go, like we talked about, high-flying offense, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. They do not have, a deep running back core right now because Achane is on IR, so they're going to rely on Raheem Mostert, and he is the speed back just like Achane. I think this is going to be a terrific game. I think I'm going to go the smart route. I'm taking the Miami Dolphins to win the game.
I'm taking Miami too.
Monday Night Football, the lowly Minnesota Vikings welcome the 49ers coming off of a loss in Minnesota.
You might as well just try to call off a word.
Minnesota's in trouble because San Francisco lost. I know they don't have, Christian McCaffrey, but they got Elijah Mitchell. I know they don't have Deebo Samuel, but they got Juwan Jennings, and they got a rookie by the name of Ronnie Bell, who is drawing comparisons to a really young Jerry Rice in practice and in training camp. Okay. Now, I'm not saying he's Jerry Rice, but when Peter King mentioned him on his podcast and said that's who he reminded him of, he's like the fourth wide receiver on this team. He's returning punts and kickoffs, I believe, but he's going to get some more action if Deebo Samuel is out. We'll see him on the jet sweeps in the end of rounds and catching some passes. Got to take the 49ers against the Vikings.
49ers all the way. Ronnie Bell's from Michigan. The kid was a beast at Michigan. And if I'm not mistaken, he's from that area in California. He's not too far from. He's from California. I know that. So I want to say
it's been an all right show. I'm a little disappointed that we didn't have more comments. Did you not share it to a bunch of places or what?
No, I shared it.
Well, we didn't have Ron tonight. I didn't see him. Didn't see Brian.
Oh, I know. My bad. Ron, if you're watching this, I'm very sorry. I bet you he's watching it on my personal profile, and I don't get those comments on through the computer.
Well, that's all right. We can answer them offline.
We might have to. I apologize, Ron.
Well, anyway, this has been your recap of week 6, your preview of week 7. I'm glad we made it through it, even though you thought you were going to have to take off. I'm David Llewellyn from Picks with David. You can catch me in my videos on Thursday and Sundays, or whenever we're going to have games in the NFL on YouTube and Facebook. That's my buddy, Christopher Serra Jr. He's a member of Fourth and Goal Podcast, the Fourth and Goal Sports, NFL Renegades.
And that's it. And then so you'll catch us here next Tuesday at 8 p.m. for next week's show. And Sunday, we'll be back live Sunday evening with the Sunday Report, NFL Clutch Sunday Report. It's been a good show. I made it through the whole show. I didn't expect to, but I made it. So wish thanks guys for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next week.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.
All right, David, you have a good night, buddy.
You too. Thank you.